What happens after the quiet? Learning to choose clarity over assumption. What if the conflict you're avoiding is actually the conversation that could set you free? Somewhere between hurt feelings, radio silence, awkward hugs, and overthinking every interaction, this became a conversation about clarity. The quiet can feel peaceful at first, then confusing, then suddenly louder than the conflict ever was. Sometimes it's not closure at all, just unanswered questions getting heavier. Hello, friends, and welcome to Radical Joy, the weekly practice of fighting for your light. In a world tuned to worry, this is our space to find a different signal, to discover the grounded, defiant, and yes, radical power of choosing joy. This is a vital reminder you are never alone. Dial 988 in the U.S. for the Mental Health and Suicide Crisis Hotline. It's a lifeline anytime. This is Season 4, so let's begin. Today's theme comes from a discussion that I continue to have, a lesson that I continue to learn poorly, so it must be taught again. Confrontation is communication. Conflict, also communication. It's not something I love. Friction isn't something I enjoy in a dynamic of any type, whether it's a friendship, a professional, personal, as a stranger. Honestly, conflict and confrontation are not something I've ever been very comfortable in dealing with. Raised in the South, gentility, politeness, these kinds of things were always just drilled into me. So the thought of being even remotely disagreeable on a point rubs against something in me that is just very much against the operating system that was installed eons ago. However, the older I get and the less stupid I become, the more I realize that conflict is often imperative. And I'll tell you why. I often work on assumption, and I think that that is a very difficult way of going about things. Well, instead of approaching something straightforward, instead of driving right at the middle, sometimes I will just assume that this person feels or believes a certain way in a certain situation. And often that is mistaken or just slightly off left of center. I continue to think, well, if this is the case, then this other must be true. If A, then B. Not taking into consideration this person is just a totally different person, first and foremost. Number two, that there are another 24 letters in the alphabet. If A, then it could be any number of other answers. Now, I could continue to pussyfoot around the topic. I could continue to observe, collect data, try to make assumptions, continue to tweak and adjust my opinion or my stance or my method in order to approach this issue with said person or individual or organization, and continue to waste time and work inefficiently at trying to figure out what the heck is going on and how to make it better. Or I could approach the person, be very curious. I could ask questions in a very non combatant, not combative way. I could genuinely want to know more about where they're coming from, their stance, their opinions, their reasoning for feeling the way they do that for whatever reason butts up against my own. And that's not easy to do. That almost always feels like a fight waiting to happen, right? And I want to avoid that at all costs, or have in the past. And it feels as though now I'm getting to a point now where I'm like, I don't mind a fight if that's what it comes to. I don't think it has to. I don't think that's where we'll always end up. There are options all along the way of solving this conflict, of bringing about a resolution. A battle isn't always in the cards for us. It doesn't always have to be the future of this journey. I You've always heard, or I've heard a lot recently, that please don't assume that other people are going to be like you. How does that saying go? I'm getting it not exactly right. You can't expect yourself from others. That's what it is. You can expect your reactions from other people. It covers a lot of ground, that little adage. So just because in this case, say I feel very strongly about this issue. And someone very important in my life feels very differently about that issue. And I try to make sense of it without going to that person, having an honest discussion. Is it possible to reach an outcome that is accurate? Sure, of course it is. All things are possible. It's just how long is that going to take? How much energy are you going to waste? How much energy do you just have lying around ready to burn at any given moment? Right? I'm looking to provide as smooth a resolution to any of these kinds of points of friction in my life as I possibly can. I am running low on a lot of very important resources right now. Nothing to worry about. I think a lot of us find ourselves in a place like this. Patience. Ooh, friend, please understand that I am running under budget right now. Okay. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and it's really difficult to keep up. There are things happening that's in the United States that's affecting the United States, people I love. It's affecting the rest of the world, more people that I love. It's making a lot of things that should be very simple, straightforward, direct, and easy for everybody a struggle. And that frustrates me because there are people in my life that continue to support that kind of action, and I get confused. And whenever I get confused, I get angry. I want to be curious. There's a very evolved part of my brain, I like to think, that wants to be curious about it and try to figure out where it is they're coming from. And experience has led me to believe that whenever I have those conversations, very rarely does it lead to clarity. What it leads to is more confusion, which in turn leads me to more anger, which mm, kind of sort of feels like it goes in the face of the theme for today. But I think we're going to have to hold a lot of things as truths or at least possibilities of truth at the same time. Confronting someone on a situation is going to feel aggressive. It's also going to bring you to a point of clarity much sooner. Example, a friend of mine and I got in a little bit of a tiff a while back, and this person asked for space and quiet, which I was happy to give. That's a lie. It hurt me. It disappointed me. It made me frustrated and it confused me, which, as I've just told us, leads more to anger than anything else. But I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of self searching. I did a lot of growing. I did a lot of asking very harsh questions. And I think I came to a very solid place of peace and or clarity in the situation when no more information could be retrieved from the other party. Okay, super. Now, flash forward a few months after we have been giving space and radio silence for months, and I see this person in public, and they are very congenial, which is lovely, warm, amicable. Hello, how are you doing? What's going on? Very tactile, a pat on the shoulder, a hug at the end of the evening, etc. And I was confused and then angry. It's like, well, okay, well, let's not fly off the handle. Let's not make any inferences just yet. Let's give this some time to see if there's a follow up conversation, if there's anything in the future that's going to tell us more about this problem, or if the rules or the lay of the land have changed so that I know more about what to do moving forward. Is this a reconciliation? Is it just playing nice in public so people don't think we're assholes? Like, what is this? Well, I didn't hear anything from this person until I saw them again in person in public about another month later. Radio silence, nothing at all, and then seeing them in public, more of the same. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Immediate acknowledgement once I entered the room. Tactile, hand on a shoulder, pat on the back, hug at the end of the evening, etc. I was like, okay, I had made myself a deal before the end of the evening. If this happens again, after that first encounter, after the rift and the month of silence, I'm going to have to talk to this person in a way that I'm not used to talking to them. I don't love it. It makes me real uncomfortable. It makes me feel silly. There's a lot of shame and embarrassment involved in this as well because I don't like having conflicts with people I consider to be friends, which raises a lot of other questions in my mind. Again, all of these things that I am projecting onto this other party because I am trying to make them react to this situation as if they were me, and they are not. So, as we are leaving the venue because we're on our way to a second venue because we have other friends that are out and about in town, I pull this person aside and was like, look, I said, this just needs to be acknowledged. We have not spoken a word to each other for months. And then last time that I saw you, you treated me as a friend. And I need clarity on what is happening right now. I followed the rules and then everything changed. If you are changing the rules, I need to know about it because we can't just move forward from here like nothing happened. I'm paraphrasing because I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly what I said. I know it had that theme to it because my heart was beating a million miles a minute. I was angry, I was frustrated, I was confused, and I just needed clarity. And it was more important to me in that moment to have clarity than it was to try to rescue the remainders, little scraplets of a friendship of what I saw where we were currently. And this person looks at me and they nodded and they're like, you're right. Yeah, we need to catch up. We need to hang out so that we can catch up and sort of talk more about this. I'm like, great. I'm glad you agree. I said, and here's the thing, the ball is now in your court. You made the rules, and now you have to reach out so that we can fix it. And then I walked away. It was already late at night. It was time to go home anyway. And I had no business being out any later than that. So I did. I got on my bicycle and I pedaled my happy ass home. Now the next day I was concerned. I was like, well, one of at least two things is going to happen. I'm either going to get a message or I'm going to not get a message. The next day I didn't. I was like, well, okay. At least I made my peace. I didn't make a big deal of it, I don't think, but I was clear. And then the day after that, the Sunday after that Friday, hey, wondering if you got some time this weekend to catch up. Yeah. Yes, I do. And I didn't put it on hold. I didn't try to play any power games. Nothing like that. It's not about trying to be on top. It's about trying to reach a point of clarity. And am I oversharing in this? I don't know. Maybe what I'm trying to do is give us an anecdote. I always do so much better when I get a situation instead of some kind of vague mind example, something so ethereal and elusive. I'd rather just have a story, like an experience. What happened to me, how I worked through it, what good came of it, what could have been better, and do with it what you will. I'm just saying that it was worth the conflict because that led to a conversation, which led to clarity. Well, now, James, what about closure? There's another C word in your alliterative chain. It's like, well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that closure is any kind of goal. Some people look for it because they need some kind of punctuation mark. They need a winner. Okay. And I just don't feel like there ever is a winner. There's just two or more lonely people, two people who are kind of swimming around or attempting to swim in some kind of murky water that they've both helped to stir up. I don't want an ending. I don't need a punctuation mark or a trophy. What I need is clarity. If this friendship ends, I know I have done all I needed to do to get as much information out of it as possible. So in the future, I can do things differently if I want a different outcome. Please notice I didn't use better, worse. I said different if I want a different outcome. And the crazy part is, too, in a new dynamic, it's all going to be different because the person is different. However, there's no such thing as wasted learning or wasted knowledge about a person that you care for a lot. So we had a little visit. We met up at the market and we chatted about stuff and this person talked to me about what it was that I had done that made them very uncomfortable. I said, fair. I said, that's really clear. I apologized before and I'm sorry that it led to this. There were boundaries in place. I didn't feel like apologizing again. I made several apologies the day the riff happened, whenever I asked for clarity way too soon after the point of conflict. This person wasn't willing to share, and I got mad because I'm like, well, I thought you wanted to, I would have thought you wanted to make this better. Just so much learning. When someone asks for space, that's probably what you want to give them, even though it probably hurts and frustrates people. Like, no, you never go to bed on an argument. Okay. Well, that's not exactly this case because it wasn't a romantic situation. Well, no, you need to get to the root of it as soon as you can. That's what that means whenever you're, yeah. No, no, no. I get that. I hear you. Thank you for the help. I appreciate that. And I think that in a lot of sitcoms and old 80s movies, that's definitely the way to go about it. Um, I think we need to look at each individual situation and hear what the other person is saying. And this is where clarity comes into effect as well. Say what you mean. Don't say something as a smokescreen so that the other person has to fight for whatever it is you want them to find. Make it clear. I don't think that being special to someone needs to be a struggle. I don't think that if you feel like you need to be fought for and won, you need to talk to somebody. I'm not judging you. I'm saying if that's the way you feel about it, that just being someone's special one is not enough for you, you need to you need to explore that. Okay? I pardon me if that hurts your delicate sensibilities. I want you to find a scrap of paper and a pen, and I want you to write out what that means to you and why that's important. How wonderful to be somebody's special person. Like truly. Okay? If you have to fight for something like that, if you are constantly testing your special person so that they continue to prove to you that they're willing to fight for you, that's another conversation that needs to be had. And that's probably going to lead to a conflict, which is why we're here today talking about all these kinds of things. We are so embarrassed about things that happen that just need clarity. They need a discussion, and it's difficult to bring that to someone because you don't want to appear weak or flawed or too much or high maintenance or any of these kind of things. I know. Pardon me for saying that's how I feel with these kind of things. I think that whenever something like this happens, people expect us to do any number of crazy things. Like, well, if this was important to you, you'd fight for it. You wouldn't rest until you had some kind of clarity on it. You just told me that you wanted space. Do I respect what you say, or do I read between the lines, risk getting it wrong, or do I rely on you to be an adult and tell me what's going on so that we can come back to this whenever your need for space is fulfilled and we can do better? I've learned so much, and this all feels very convoluted, but hopefully there's wisdom that we can kind of pick out of the ashes of whatever this is that I'm trying to burn to the ground so that I can get the valuable away from what is gone and plant that and hopefully make something new, both with this individual person and others moving forward. I want to be a healthy person. And I think the crazier the world tries to make me, the more difficult that is to maintain. And so I come to this microphone and I talk with all of us for however long it is we spend together to just say, hey, this was my experience. If you're going through something similar, my heart goes out to you. And this is what I learned whenever I did it. Number one, be open, listen closely. I felt like I listened to everything that I could. I don't know that I retained much of it because I came to this person. I said, I'll be honest, it caught me by surprise so strongly, so harshly that I don't remember a lot of it. There are key points that I remember. Would you mind retelling? And I know that's frustrating. I do. Trust me, I get it. Now I'm in a place where I don't feel as though I am in danger. So if you, we both had a little time to maybe find some perspective in this. Could you perhaps present this to me in a way that makes it easier for both of us to speak civilly? One, learn that. Two, if somebody asks you for space, I if you wanna check in with them and make sure that's exactly what it is that they want, confirm. I don't think that's outside the scope of reason. I think that's a perfectly reasonable question. I don't we need to take some time apart. Okay. I need you to know that you have requested this. I'm saying this out loud to you. I am mirroring what you just said, so you hear it in my voice, your words. You just asked for some time apart. I'm ready to give that to you because that's what you say you need. It's not what I want, it's what you say you want or need. So I'm about to give it to you. Is that it? Are you sure? I think that whenever you present that again, that it will probably give that person just a moment of pause in case there is some heat on the situation that needs to be tempered. It'll bring it down just a little bit. If they confirm, be prepared because now you've asked. You've asked a question and it's tough. That's a tough one to ask because if the answer is in the affirmative, you should probably get ready to make some space, whether that's another room in the house for an hour or not speaking for days, weeks, months, perhaps more. Should that space become closed again, I treated it as a one off originally. I didn't know what to think of it. I didn't know what to make of it. All I knew was that I was assertively spaced. And so when this person started to close space between us and started to warm the dynamic again, I was like, oh, okay. So, got it. And I didn't make a big deal of it. We were in public. I certainly didn't want people around us to know because we had been friends for quite some time. And whenever you saw one of us, it was not uncommon to see the other. We palled around quite a bit around town. So I did not want to let on. I didn't want to air dirty laundry. That's just I don't know. That just always seems so terrible, especially if I didn't know enough to really inform anyone if they ask me pointier questions because people are nosy. It's not just enough to say, "Well, I haven't seen that person in a while." Oh my god, what happened? I I From what I remember, I did this. They got very upset, requested space, said these things, and now I haven't heard from them in a while. Oh, then why is that person doing X, Y, and Z and speaking to you like that? It's just a lot of extra you don't need to share with everybody. Until you get clarity, you can absolutely keep those cards as close to your vest as you want. And I'll do you one better. If you feel like telling a little white lie just to avoid a problem, go for it. Go for it. James, that's not true. That's not nice. Everybody should tell the truth all the time. Let me tell you something. Let me just let you in a little secret right here and right now. If the truth protects you, if a lie protects you until you can find yourself in a safer, better place, do it. Go right ahead and do it. Here's just a touch of dirty laundry. My mother used to do that. She may still do it. I don't know. I haven't heard her throw one of these in quite a while. But she used to tell little fibs, little stories, just to make sure that things that just didn't need to be told didn't get told. Like it's none of somebody else's business, or that what happens in this family is no one else's concern. We're working on it. We're going to find a solution. Until then, we're not going to ask anybody else to come in here and stir up business that isn't theirs. Great. That is wise. That is smart. That is strong. And I used to get so mad at her. I was like, you lied right to my face. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, you're doing it again. You're lying right now. This can go any number of ways. If it protects you as a temporary fix until you can get a better handle on your situation, go for it. If it's something that prolongs a situation that keeps you from finding your healing or your improvement or your clarity, please think that over because that sort of little band aid story, that little fib that just sort of like covers the wound instead of cleans it and treats it, that's a temporary fix and it's a slippery slope. You get used to doing that sort of thing because it is easier in the short term. God, it is. Oh man. And here's the thought too. Eventually that wound is going to get so deep and it might get infected. And that little band-aid's going to get bled right through. And you're going to have to be careful with it because then the conflict that you're going to have to face after that bloody band-aid is ripped off is probably going to be far more severe because now it's not just the situation, it's the lie you told to cover it. Man, being an adult is real complicated sometimes. Doesn't have to be, but we make it that way. And I want to explore it. Again, not trying to judge it. I'm just saying, okay, let's continue to remember what happens when we, right? So, people who don't got no business in your business can go piss up a rope for all I'm concerned. If they've got no business, if they're not there to help, if they're not there to do anything except just get the dirt in the dish, let their wheels spin. Who cares? Tell them whatever it is you need to tell them just to get them out of your face. Great. Wonderful. If you're lucky like me, you have friends who pick up on the vibe and they just steer others away from the conversation and you don't talk about it again. Hallelujah. May the good Lord bless them and shine a warm glow on them every day there at the beach. Goodness, may a cloud never touch their sandy shores. All right. Ugh, man. Other things that I've learned from this, a point of confrontation, the anticipation of that is almost always worse than doing it. Almost always. The thing that you imagine in your mind is almost always, if you're dealing with a reasonable, rational person, is going to be a lot less than what you build it up to be. Ah, It and I hate that. I really do. I hate it because I hate spending all that worry and frustration and fear. And then whenever you get to the actual point where you're like, look, we need to talk about this because it's making me feel bad and I don't want to put on something where I don't feel like I'm being true to myself. That's fair. You're right. We should set up a time where we can talk about this more clearly, where we can really give this the time it deserves. Shit. You mean I could have done this from early on? Now I just feel stupid. Better stupid and clear. Honestly. Eh, have you ever thought about a solution and you're looking at the thing and you know what the thing it is you have to do, but you find a solution every other way to Sunday to do it except the one that is the most clear and direct route to getting whatever this problem is? Exactly. Exactly that. I do that all the time. I look at this little navel bagel. I was like, man, if I could just stop eating this beautiful Dutch cheese, I could probably get a six pack before June. And then the next thing I know, I'm down at DeWitt on Longa Hazelstraat buying more goat, sheep, and cow cheese to eat with grapes and nuts on my charcuterie board at 10 p.m. right before I go to bed. How is that helping my six pack dreams? It's not at all. But instead, I was like, no, I can just enjoy this tonight, and I'll bike double time to the gym, or I'll make sure that I show up half an hour early and spend some time on that treadmill, doolally, or maybe even the assault bike if I'm feeling really like hating myself on a Saturday. Any number of these things where all I really had to do is be just a little bit mindful. It's like, you know what? I'm going to cut that portion of cheese in half. I'm going to enjoy it at noon. So I have the rest of the day to sort of use it instead of just going to sleep on it. Still enjoy it. I'm not denying myself anything. I have just made a better decision instead of needing to go to the neighbor's house. And instead of walking out my front door and taking a left, I walk out the front door, take a right, and go all the way around the world to go see my neighbor because I'm dreading talking to my neighbor because we had a crossword, because we had some sort of falling out, because I still have the fill in the blank that I borrowed a month ago and can't find it. So I haven't been able to return it. We think some of these things that are going to be the end of the world couldn't matter any less to these people if we tried. What I'm saying is approach it, conflict, communicate. It's not the end of the world. It is not the most pleasant form of communication. Nobody likes to be met with some sort of confrontation. Pardon me. Few people like to be met with some sort of confrontation. I've met a couple of folks who are fighters. Ooh, boy, they scrap and they love it. I'm not one of those people. I'd much rather us just hug it out, be cool with one another, and move on about our business. And that is not the way I can handle every single dynamic that crosses my path. That's another great thing that I've learned too. Not every situation in life is a copy and paste. Um, if you try to handle every situation the same way every time, of course, it's going to be very successful in some, not all. And whenever you say that out loud, it just makes all the sense in the world. However, when you're in the moment, you're looking for the least resistance, right? Path of least resistance is always the way I'll go about it. Why would I expend more energy than is absolutely necessary whenever I could just do the thing that I've always done that's been so very successful so many times and just be done with it? Until you do, and it isn't, right? Take ourselves off cruise control. Look at the situation as an opportunity for clarity instead of a request for a fight. Approach with genuine curiosity instead of judgment. Try your hardest to forget all of the things that may have happened in the past so that you can approach this situation as something new. Genuinely listen for an opportunity to understand instead of your opportunity to respond. Leave your boundaries firmly in place. This is not a point of surrender. It is a point of communication and compromise and meeting in the middle. And try to find as much information as possible about what happened, where each of you think you are now, and what tomorrow and the future looks like for your dynamic, if anything at all. Moving forward, maintain your boundaries. In interactions, perhaps overcompensation should be expected for whatever was seen as the offense in the initial rift. Find a comfortable middle place eventually and start to rebuild. If you see behavior that is clearly on its way to another rift, pay attention. See the flags. Bring it up earlier. Confront it earlier. Find your points of clarification. If it's on the way to another harmful, hurtful collapse, implosion, whatever, assess. Figure out whether or not you want to continue. And there it is. Have another conversation. I see this going in the same way it did before. I thought we had reached a point that where we both knew where we were coming from. Am I misunderstanding? I don't think I am, but I'm here to listen. If at that point you've decided that it's not going to go forward, well, cool. That's just what it is. And keep on trucking. I hate it. I don't love it. I am getting better about it. I don't love it. I am getting better. And I encourage all of you to do it too. Discomfort is where the growth happens. That's where the magic lies, all right? So let's get out there and do a little bit of it. Don't pick a fight, but I'd be hard pressed to say there isn't at least one or two relationships or dynamics in your life that couldn't use a little come to Jesus because they're just not serving. And man, with all the things going on, you need all of your energy as close to your heart as you can get it, okay? Things that are a struggle, things that are an uphill battle, leave it. Or at least try to find clarity at why it feels that way so both of you can get on a better page so you just don't have to struggle so hard. If this is your first episode of Radical Joy, friends, welcome. So glad that you're here. Most of them usually have a little bit more clear through line. Today just felt like me kind of airing an experience of mine so that hopefully we can all grow together through it and just let you know what I learned. If this is not your first episode, welcome back. Please don't worry about me. I'm fine. I've had a lot of time with my journal and several good conversations. This is on a healing path. And regardless, I've learned a whole hell of a lot, and that is always worth something. If you've enjoyed your time with us here today, and I certainly hope you have, make sure that you share us with your friends, your colleagues, your coworkers, because that is the best way for us to get our word around to everyone and everything we're trying to do here at Radical Joy with CLW Studios. And please never forget, we love y'all. This episode isn't here to fix you. It's not about picking sides or winning an argument. It's here to remind you that honesty can be kind and boundaries can be loving, that clarity is kinder than assumption. And sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is finally say the thing out loud. We're really, really glad you're here. I am not a therapist or a medical professional. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 988 to reach the National Crisis Lifeline. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of James or CLW Studios. Please consult with your therapist or seek one in your area if you're experiencing mental health symptoms. Everything in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only.